I am neither the creator nor the author of this story or its mentioned characters. The respective authors are listed in the description. Naruto Card King. Chapter 1. Reincarnation in the Shinobi World. The bustling city shone brightly under the night sky, neon lights flashing in a dazzling display. The roar of a convertible sports car's engine echoed through the busy streets, drawing the attention of pedestrians as it came to a halt in front of a grand, well-lit hotel. A young man, dressed in a sleek tuxedo and wearing a stylish hat, leaped out of the car. Without a second thought, he tossed the keys to the approaching valet and hurried up the stairs. "Welcome back, Mr. Saito." The doorman greeted him with a polite smile as he held the door open. "Has my package arrived?" Haruto Saito asked quickly. "Yes, sir. It has been delivered to your suite." The doorman responded respectfully. "Thanks." Haruto flashed a smile and, with a smooth flick of his wrist, produced a small slip of paper seemingly out of thin air before slipping it into the doorman's pocketa generous tip. Striding through the hotel lobby, Haruto headed straight for the elevator. Haruto Saito, 27 years old, a genius magician. Once the apprentice and prize student of the legendary magician David Rolls, Haruto had gone independent at the young age of 22. Now he was the most renowned Japanese magician in the world and the highest paid performer in the industry. Fresh off a grand performance at the Bellagio, Haruto had returned to his hotel in a hurry. Inside his lavish suite, several large silver metal cases were stacked in the living room. Haruto moved swiftly to inspect them one by one, ensuring that his magic props were all intact. Everything checked out. Exhaling in relief, Haruto leaned back. Magic props were sacred to any magician, and Haruto was no exception. Transporting them always posed risks, and past incidents had made him particularly cautious. On top of that, he had a serious case of OCD. After finishing his inspection, Haruto retrieved a clean towel from his luggage and meticulously wiped down every case and prop in the living room. A warm shower, a fresh change of clothes. An hour later, now dressed in a luxurious silk robe, Haruto stood before the floor-to-ceiling window, a glass of red wine in hand, gazing down at the dazzling nightlife of the city of entertainment. Ding dong. His smartphone, resting on the coffee table, vibrated with a notification. Haruto picked it up in alert for an in-game event. Outside of magic, Haruto's one and only passion was mobile gaming. Like millions of others in this era, he was a dedicated gamer. But unlike most, Haruto wasn't into RPGs, shooters, racing games, or simulations. She exclusively played card games. Over the years, he had tried more than 300 different card-based mobile games. Currently, he was hooked on a game called Card Emperor. The Midnight Event. Elemental Furnace. Event rules. Players could sacrifice cards into the furnace. Each tap sacrificed a card, and at the end of the round, prestige points were calculated. The higher the total prestige, the better the rewards. Haruto glanced at the time, 2 minutes left before the event began. Battery's low, damn it. Noticing his phone was down to 9% charge and the battery icon had turned red, Haruto rushed back to his bedroom, grabbed his charger, and returned to the living room. A power outlet was conveniently located near the sofa. Plugging in his phone, he waited. Then he noticed something unbearable: fingerprints smudging his screen. Unacceptable. Dashing back to his bedroom, he grabbed a cleaning cloth and returned to the living room. Standing by the coffee table, he carefully wiped his phone screen clean before setting it down with satisfaction. The countdown ended. Midnight struck. The event screen popped up on his phony animated image of a furnace with a glowing sacrifice button. Haruto hunched forward, fingers poised, and began tapping at high speed. Each event round lasted 3 minutes, with a total of 12 rounds. Haruto had amassed a collection of junk cards in the game, and now was the time to dump them. 10 seconds in, he suddenly paused, his face darkening. There were fingerprints on his screen again. His own fingerprints. The event was ongoing. Without missing a beat, Haruto grabbed the cloth with his left hand and swiftly wiped the screen, while his right hand continued tapping at breakneck speed. This pattern continued every few seconds. He'd wipe the screen and resume tapping. Unbeknownst to him, due to simultaneous gaming and charging, his phone was heating up. And because of his obsessive wiping and relentless tapping, the heat was intensifying. He was too focused on the game and his clean screen to notice. Then, 2 minutes in, boom, an explosion. Blinding flames. Shards of glass and plastic burst outward, embedding deep into his left eye. Haruto instinctively shot up, clutching his face, a guttural scream of agony tearing from his throat as he collapsed onto his knees. His final thought before losing consciousness, why did my phone explode? 1 day later, World News headline, world-renowned magician Haruto Saito dies in a freak accident caused by a smartphone explosion in his Las Vegas penthouse suite. Darkness, endless, suffocating darkness. Then consciousness. You hit him too hard. Who knew he was this fragile? It was just one punch. You're a jonin. He's just a kid. Kid? He's an assassin. He took out 3 of our Hyuga scouts. If we hadn't arrived, who knows how many more he'd have killed. The sharp tang of blood mixed with a foul stench filled Haruto's nostrils. Dazed, his left eye throbbing with unbearable pain, he groaned. Slowly, he lifted his head. His vision swam, but he could make out 2 figures. One, a man in a sleeveless flak jacket, a long sword strapped to his back. The other, clad in a dark cloak, back turned, walking away. Haruto's breath hitched. Kunai. His gaze fixated on the weapons strapped to their bodies. The realization hit like a thunderbolt. No way. His eyes widened in horror. He wasn't in Las Vegas anymore. He was in the world of Naruto. Chapter 2. The Anbu Prison. Sakumo Hatake, codenamed White Fang in the Anbu, was a top-tier warrior active during the Second Shinobi World War. Wielding a glowing chakra short sword, he was known as Konoha's White Fang. In the original work, he was the father of Kakashi Hatake, a tragic hero. Although his screen time was limited, he left a profound impression. Haruto Saito was still in a state of shock. The data in his left eye, resembling character information, was clearly visible to him, yet he had no idea where these words were coming from. Instinctively, he raised his hand and waved it in front of his face. As his hand blocked his vision, the data vanished. What is this? Haruto waved his hand back and forth before shifting his gaze to another ninja wearing a flak jacket. Name: Kato Ki. Identity: Special Interrogation Ninja of the Anbu Tactical Assassination Unit, Konoha Village, Fire Country. Reputation: 5,199 points. Kato Ki, his Anbu codename. Is this really identity information? Why can my left eye see these details? Haruto muttered in confusion, feeling his brain struggling to process everything. Traveling to another world was already bizarre enough, but why did this version of the Naruto world feel different? At this moment, Haruto's behavior was strange, waving his hand in front of his left eye, tilting his head at odd angles, scrutinizing the 2 people in the interrogation room, and mumbling to himself. Sakumo Hatake, his gaze indifferent, looked at the young boy slumped on the straw mat. The boy's actions were nothing out of the ordinary. To enemies of Konoha's Anbu, this place was terrifying. Although Sakumo Hatake hadn't been the Anbu captain for long, he had seen all kinds of prisoners. Some went mad, and some, in their insanity, even tried to eat themselves alive. Can you answer my questions? Sakumo Hatake's raspy voice broke the silence. Huh? Haruto refocused on the ninja in front of him, his throat moving slightly. What questions? Damn, brat, still pretending? Kato Ki muttered in displeasure. How many child ninjas like you did Amagakure send this time, and what was your ultimate mission? Sakumo Hatake's voice remained calm, but his tone was firm. Well, Haruto furrowed his brow and blinked hard. He was trying to recall. Since he had taken over this body, there was a chance that the memories of its original owner still existed, or maybe not. Fragments of memories flickered through his mind like a poorly edited movie reel, flashing too quickly for him to grasp anything. Haruto said nothing, because he genuinely couldn't remember. Kid. Sakumo Hatake spoke again, his tone indifferent. You should know that if you can provide important intelligence, you won't have to die. In fact, If you're willing to defect from Amagakure, young ninjas like you can be accepted into Konoha, but if you choose to stay silent and endure, then... As his voice trailed off, the air in the interrogation room seemed to freeze. Sakumo Hatake stood motionless, his expression calm, yet he exuded an aura akin to a slumbering ancient beast lurking within a deep abyss, making one's spine tingle with fear. Wait. Haruto's heart pounded. Although he still hadn't figured everything out, one thing was clear. If he didn't say something, he might be executed. The original owner of this body was a ninja from Amagakure, captured by Konoha, undergoing interrogation. The situation was simple enough, but Haruto had no idea what to say. So you really don't want to talk? I lost my memory. What? I lost my memory, Haruto repeated loudly, pointing at his head and shaking it. I can't remember. Really, I can't recall anything. I might have... Cunning brat, Katoki sneered. Amnesia, Sakumo Hatake muttered, falling into contemplation. The heavy iron door suddenly creaked open again, and two more ninjas entered. One was the black-robed ninja who had left earlier, and the other was a medical ninja he had brought along. Haruto glanced at them. The black-robed ninja's Ambu codename was Hunter, while the medical ninja's was Blue Cord. Both were Ambu operatives from Konoha, and their reputation points were Similarone had over 7,000, the other over 5,000. Captain, Blue Cord greeted respectfully. No need. Sakumo Hatake raised his hand slightly. Blue Cord glanced at Haruto. Although he was still injured, they were minor wounds. Saying nothing, he bowed to Sakumo Hatake and swiftly exited. Sakumo Hatake turned to Haruto once more. If you refuse to speak, I will have no choice but to execute you. You are still young, don't you think it's a waste? I really lost my memory, Haruto pleaded. I don't believe you, Sakumo Hatake replied coldly. You guys... Haruto was genuinely panicked. As a transmigrator, dying right after arriving was the worst possible fate. Where was his protagonist's plot armor? Oh, right! Haruto's eyes suddenly lit up. You have the Yamanaka clan here, right? They can check my memories. Yes, do it. Scan my memory. I allow it. Oh, you know quite a bit? Sakumo Hatake's tone shifted slightly. But didn't you say you lost your memory? How do you remember this? Haruto's face stiffened. His shoulders slumped, and he hung his head. Damn it, now he really couldn't explain. The iron door creaked open once more, but only slightly. A cold draft blew in as a shadow flickered, and a figure appeared beside Sakumo Hatake, speaking in a deep voice. Captain, I'm back. Mission successful? Sakumo Hatake asked. Yes. The newcomer nodded. Haruto looked up at the figure standing next to Sakumo Hatake. Name, Yamanaka Kichi. Identity, squad leader of the 2nd Ambu Tactical Assassination Unit, Konoha Village, Fire Country. Reputation, 19,788 points. Relationship, hostile. A Yamanaka clan member, Ambu squad leader. Thoughts raced through Haruto's mind. He blinked and suddenly stood up. Chains rattled as he shouted excitedly, I really lost my memory. Really. If you don't believe me, check my mind. Just do it. I swear. As a magician, Haruto had exceptional stage performance skills. He didn't dare specify who should check him. He couldn't explain how he knew their identity, so he played it off as an urgent plea for survival. Amnesia? Yamanaka Kichi's gaze flickered as he turned to Sakumo Hatake. Fine, check his mind. Sakumo Hatake responded indifferently. Mind? Reading jutsu? Yes. But you know that it requires an exceptional level of talent. I'm the only one in the Yamanaka clan who can barely perform it. Even then, there's a risk of failure. If I fail, it could damage his consciousness and turn him into an idiot. Doesn't matter. He refuses to talk anyway. All right. Yamanaka Kichi nodded and vanished, appearing behind Haruto like a phantom. Haruto had no time to react before he felt a hand press on his head. A violent surge of chakra surrounded Yamanaka Kichi, and he closed his eyes, initiating the jutsu. Yamanaka clan secret technique mind reading jutsu